Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, agents. It is I, Mounty Carl, back with another video for you, and this time I am at E3, and I was at the Ubisoft press conference, or E3 conference, or whatever you wanted to do, the reveal, and so I got to see a lot of this stuff up close and personal, got to play around with some of the stuff afterwards, so I just wanted to give you my thoughts. I had to go back and watch the video. It's much funnier watching the video. You guys at home on YouTube actually got a much better treat, because it was kind of boring sitting at the back of the conference room while they did all this stuff and not being able to really see anything. So let's go ahead and get into what my thoughts are on the Ubisoft press conference. Alright, agents, so most of you who are tuning in right now know exactly what I cover on my channel, and that is The Division. Right now, it's the #1 game that I'm covering, so let's start out with my thoughts on that. And they didn't really show a whole lot of underground outside of what we'd already seen, but pretty much it looks like a tunnel crawler enclosed in a small space. I thought it looked good, but with the recent issues of fire, if you've been ever caught on fire in the game, you know how fast you go down. So even the regular mode on this is probably going to be challenging, especially with the instant kill without some sort of level of exotic damage resilience. Now, this is going to be a very frustrating expansion for a lot of people because of the fire. They also introduced a heroic difficulty. I don't know how many people heard that. When I went through the press conference, they didn't really talk about the heroic difficulty, and they really didn't talk about Dragon's Breath, which is the new incursion. So they did mention some stuff like that was off camera, but in my mind, it's going to be a huge debacle. And considering the only thing that this does is that the heroic difficulty, it makes it harder to kill enemies. And we've all seen it, the level 32s, level 34s, and now level 36s, which will be, or something like that. It's got to be level 36, level 35 portion of the Dark Zone that they're going to add, and this heroic challenge, which will be, I assume, level 36 when they get into it. So I'm very concerned, because it's already, the only thing that they do is throw some more enemies at you. They don't really change the actual gameplay mechanic. They just change the enemies so that they're harder to kill and you're easier to kill. And once again, it goes back to the fact that, hey, I'm this elite agent, and here's these scrubs on the street that just got through with all this virus stuff, and they're way better equipped, way better geared, and have way more armor than I do. So it's going to be a very interesting expansion, to say the least. I'm looking forward to it. I want to see what it is. I want to see where it's going. But level 36 shotgunners? Yeah, I don't think so. Anyways, now let's talk about the second expansion, which we saw the trailer for, Survival. Well, if you took, and really listened to it, and they said, food and water are going to be scarce, just exchange food and water with tools and electronics, because that's really what it is, because you don't eat or drink in this game. There's no simulation. So even if food and water is scarce, I just go to the boo and pick some up, pick up some water, pick up some canned beans or something, and I don't really need to eat. So unless they're going to add that into the survival portion of the second expansion, a food type survival thing, then it's not really, they really shouldn't have added that in, because nobody cares. So, that's the way it is. The gameplay looks like it takes place in a part of the city where everything else takes place. It looks like the same old interiors, same old serene surroundings, everything's snowy. It's really the same thing, you're just doing something else, The guy at the very end of the trailer, if you didn't see him, that guy looked very cool. He looked very Army of Two-ish, so I'm looking forward to seeing what that guy's all about. And really, it's probably just a guy that has they've upped it from some sort of yellow elite to some sort of purple, not purple, but a fuchsia elite or something like that, where he's gonna have 12 bars of armor and stuff like that. It's something ridiculous. So overall, the previews for 1.3 Underground and for the expansion, the second one, really did very little to impress me, and probably very little to keep anyone playing this game, unless something is done to the combat and the atrocity that is the broken portions of this game. These two expansions will serve to usher in a time sink for when Ghost Recon Wildlands is coming out. Now, I told myself I would never buy another Ubi game after this again, but I'm going to show you this. Ghost Recon may have changed my mind. I know, but I'm going to reserve judgment. I'm not going to pre-order it or anything like that until like the last couple of days. But watching the gameplay and the 4-player co-op reminded me of what good gameplay demos look like. And I understand, I've seen the trailer and I've seen the stuff, the Ubi bait and switch. Here's the E3 graphics and here's the regular graphics. I don't even care what the graphics look like. I'm really just yearning for what the Division was in the PvE portion of it. Screw the Dark Zone. Nobody gives a crap about that anymore. Doing the PvE side of things and going through and getting gear and doing that stuff. I actually heard that people would rather PvE and farm the incursion than actually go into the Dark Zone anymore. That's how bad the Division's gotten. But anyways, back to Ghost Recon Wildlands, because I'm super pumped about this after watching the press conference. Now, 4-player co-op reminded me a lot of what I missed in the Division, and I'm still so stoked at Ghost Recon that I have a hard time believing it is an Ubisoft game. Like, I'm actually looking forward to it, like an Ubisoft game, looking forward to an Ubisoft game. I know that in the end, I will most likely be disappointed, horribly disappointed that I waited so long to see this game, and it's going to come out, and there will be server errors, bugs, and just all around horrible bait and switch tactics that, I'll say once again, I won't buy an Ubisoft game after this. I did it with Future Soldier. I did it with, a couple of the other games. I did it with Rainbow Six Siege. I'm like, I will never buy an Ubisoft game again. And I do. I get duped in because they look so good. And, it's really, it's really funny that I keep doing this. But Ghost Recon Wildlands, I'm hoping is going to change my mind about Ubisoft games. I won't buy another Ubisoft game. That's it. This is it. Ghost Recon Wildlands will make or break my decision whether Ubisoft or Vivendi buys them out. One of the two. It's really what it is. Like, the game reminded me of Far Cry 3, honestly, when I was looking at it, and that game was awesome! But if you've ever heard me talk about Far Cry 3 single player was awesome. Far Cry 3 multiplayer, I loved to death, but it was garbage. It was so horrible. It was riddled with bugs. It was, you couldn't sync up characters. It was so horrible. And I was like, no, this is the greatest thing ever. This is the best multiplayer. And I'm not talking about the PvP multiplayer. I'm talking about the co-op portion that was like Left 4 Dead. Let me tell you, Ubisoft, if you're listening to this and you want my honest feedback, make a game that just does that. I loved the Far Cry 3 4-player co-op multiplayer. Honestly, honest to God, that is where you really stood out to me. And if you got it right, it would be a solid game. People would play it. People would buy it. It'd be awesome. And, this game is just, it's almost a year away. For this game, and it better be the most polished game ever made. I would even go so far as to apply and go work on this game just to make sure it turns out spectacular, because it looks so good. And I love the Ghost Recon games, but I haven't liked a Ghost Recon game since GRAW 1 and 2, where it was more of a tactical shooter. Now these are more action RPG third-person shooters, so it's really, I'm looking forward to it. Please don't screw this up for me, Ubisoft, please. I will go work for free at one of your studios just to make sure that this game gets out and gets on there just fine. Hit me up, send me an email or something like that. I am happy to talk to you about how I can help you make this game good and how we can get it out, and how whether it's, hey, let's put some DLC in so that you can pay for actual servers or something like that. I don't know what can be done, but let's just go ahead and get this done. Ghost Recon Wildlands, coming soon, March 2017 to Xbox and PS4 and PC or whatever it is. And so let's go ahead and move from shooters to sword fighting. Ubisoft CGI magic makes For Honor look great. However, after watching the gameplay, it looks very lackluster, and I'm finding a hard thing to say anything good about it. And it looks really good. Like, the game looks good, but the gameplay just looks like every other hack and slash game, and it really reminded me of Rise Son of Rome, which was okay. It had great graphics, but it wasn't good, to be honest. It just looked like they wanted to make a Dark Souls style game and capitalize on that. There wasn't a ton of details on this, so I can't really say if it was good or bad, but it's just looking like it's really lackluster. It looks like you play one side of a 3-man battle. Maybe they're going to have multiple story arcs where you can play as the samurai, you can play as the Viking, or you play as the medieval character. But in all honesty, they just showed the Viking side, and it really didn't, it really looked like they were already baiting and switching. So, hey, look we got these 3 great characters in here, and you're gonna all come together and play these characters, and it really should be some sort of like multiplayer game, but it really looks like For Honor is for lackluster. And that's pretty much all I'm gonna say about that until I see something visual on the screen and really, just be enthralled about it. I probably won't pick it up. Now, they did show the sequel to Grow Home, which I won't talk about, and they showed a bunch of other VR stuff that would be really cool if VR were, getting and gaining momentum. But right now, VR is still on the back burner for a lot of people. It's still, the barrier to entry is like buying 2 Xboxes. So why would I buy something that is going to cost me 2 Xboxes when I just buy 1 Xbox and move along from there? Anyways, the VR stuff, it looked cool, but the graphics still are, they're, still potato graphics or whatever it is, and I'm just waiting until it's more of a full body experience, not something that's going to give me a headache. But the Star Trek thing looked really cool. It was nice that Geordie LaForge, LeVar Burton came out and did stuff with that. So let's move along. We'll talk about VR in another upcoming episode. I'm sure that there are cool things. Elite Dangerous, it's the only way to play Elite Dangerous VR. If you haven't played it, it's a whole other experience. But all right, so let's go ahead and close this out with the Watch Dogs 2, which is a highly anticipated game from Ubisoft and probably one of the most anticipated games that is being shown at E3. Personally, for me, I was not very impressed with Watch Dogs 1, and I really wasn't impressed with Watch Dogs 2, mainly because it looks very much the same game. It doesn't look very different. It doesn't look like there were great leaps made between the two. From Watch Dogs 1, it looks a little bit more open world than Watch Dogs 1 was, but not by a whole lot. Looking at the city, I live pretty close to San Francisco. It doesn't look very much like San Francisco. They did do a good job of getting that feel for it, where the buildings are right. Right now, if you're looking at the demo and you're looking at the gameplay, they did a great job with the Embarcadero right on the bay. There's the building right there. It's very much a big landmark, and they did a good job of capturing probably some of the landmarks more so, but really they didn't get a good job capturing the city. It's much more dense than what you're seeing here. It's, imagine what like a skyline would look like, and this is just a very open, very unbusy area where the city's not very teeming with people. You don't see, like, there's joggers and stuff in the game, and you don't really see a whole lot of those people, like right around the Embarcadero. Sure you do, but you're going to see a lot more homeless people, a lot more scrappy looking people. There's going to be business people. There's going to be a lot of traffic. That's the one thing that's really missing from this is traffic. The Embarcadero is always booked solid unless it's like midnight. Like, the Embarcadero is packed with traffic. There should be traffic everywhere in this game. Like, there should not be a city street that you walk down that doesn't have 20 or 30 cars just lined up back to back on it. And there's not a whole lot of these people except for during the day walking around. And sure, this is very similar. I should be able to continue walking down the street and see AT&T Stadium, but really there's a density problem for me with this game. And I didn't like Watch Dogs 1, so Watch Dogs 2, when they went through the missions and stuff, it felt very much the same. Sure, there's a couple other things, there's like drones and stuff, but there was a part where like he comes in on a crane. Who the hell comes in on a crane? You're not gonna hijack a crane. Like, what better way to get caught and get alerted to the police by using a crane as your own personal transportation device? It's not going to happen. Not even in San Francisco. Like, those things are guarded. Like, you're not going to get on a crane and fly over to buildings and stuff like that. You're not going to get on a crane and throw up a drone off the side and not be noticed. That stuff just doesn't happen, and it's very unrealistic for this. And when you're looking out over the city, this game makes it look very bare and very bleak. Like there should be some sort of fog, some sort of material in the air, and I just didn't get the feel like overall that they spent enough time in San Francisco to really get the feel for it. It's a very dark city. It's very similar to New York. It's not very bright like they're making it look here. It's very much a crowded city, and this just makes it look like, oh, hey, come to San Francisco where everything's super cool and sunny and it's like, hey, surfer dudes and stuff like that. And that's not the way this city is. San Francisco is not that way. There's homeless people. There's trash in a lot of places. They do a good job of cleaning that stuff up, especially along the Embarcadero where this takes place, but it's just not happening this way. And it would be awesome if they kind of were able to tie in some of the more recent events that happened here in San Francisco, like one of the city councilmen getting arrested for gun trafficking with Yakuza people in the background and stuff like that. That would be cool if they did something like that. But, I haven't played the full game, so I reserve judgment. But it would be cool if they did their research and kind of threw that stuff in the game. This first opening mission that they did for us was a politician, and you kind of had to go collect information. And I've never seen robots like this, and I highly doubt that nobody would even notice this rolling through a living room. Like there's a giant robot rolling through a living room, and you're not going to notice it. So it's a bit unrealistic to think that they really spent a lot of time developing this game and really fleshing out the city. I hope that this is just an early build and they're really going to flesh it out, because there aren't too many things that I saw that were very pleasing. I mean, there's not cars just hanging out on the side of the road. There's not dogs just playing. I mean, there are 2 dogs. I saw 2 dogs in the demo just kind of hanging out playing. That doesn't happen. There might be pigeons fighting over a piece of bread, or some homeless person begging for change, but it's definitely not a couple of puppy dogs playing on the sidewalk and girl in yoga shorts just kind of cruising down the Embarcadero. And there's definitely not a car, and there's definitely not you're gonna get noticed if you kind of jump in somebody's car and run a red light. So with all that said, I'm just not enthralled about the whole Watch Dogs series. They probably should have left it at 1. Even 1 was very uninteresting to me. The city felt closed. I mean, this is Chicago we're talking about, and Chicago's a big wide open city, and it felt very much like a closed area. Like there was a lot of places you couldn't go. The cars felt clunky. The people felt clunky. Everything about it just kind of felt clunky. When you shot, they shot out like blue laser beams at you, which was kind of weird. It looked like one of those House of the Dead type things where you're watching the on-rail shooter and you're shooting with a light gun and people are shooting back at you. It looked very much like a Japanese shooter, like stuff like that. And I just didn't like the overall look of it. So hopefully it looked like they fixed some of that stuff in this, but I'm still going to probably play it, but I'll probably get it from GameFly, and that's probably where I'll get it from. And that's it. So anyways, that has been my time. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to be here at E3 all week. I'm having a great time so far. There's been a lot of press conferences. I'm having a lot of meetings with people, so I'm going to be very busy while I'm doing this. I'm actually looking for a job while I'm down here. So if you know if anybody is looking for a job and can use Mounty Carl's expertise on YouTube videos or video games or video game producing, Mounty Carl is looking for work, and I will set up a meeting with you at E3. Happy to talk to you about that stuff. But if you like this video and you're looking forward to more E3 coverage, leave a like on this video, subscribe, and hopefully you'll be able to get some more E3 video. I'm going to try and get as many videos done while I'm not at the conference or at a party at night. I got to go to the Microsoft party, I got to go to the Sony party, I got all these parties I got to It is the bane of my existence. I'm so sorry. Hopefully I'll have some cool swag, so when I get back we'll do some giveaways for E3 swag, and we'll just get some of that stuff knocked out of the park for you. So anyways, that has been my time. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time on another video for E3 Let's Talk. Thank you very much for watching. Agent out.